Україна! 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 Ladies and gentlemen, terrorism is inexcusable. Terrorism is never justified. Terrorism is heinous and cowardly. While the whole world now condemns the terrorist attack on Crocus Hall in Moscow, and rightly so, we should not fail to remember that Russia enacts terrorism against the people of Ukraine on a daily basis. This cannot and should not be ignored. Let's also not forget that Russia also continues to enact terrorism on Georgia, Chechnya and Syria through violence, oppression and occupation. Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a terrorist state.
Russia is a terrorist state.
Russia is a terrorist state.
Russia is a terrorist state.
And while the attack on Crocus Hall was conducted by 5 men with guns, Moscow uses multi-million-dollar missiles to rain terror down on innocent people in Ukraine. On the 22nd of March, Russia launched its largest attack against Ukraine's energy infrastructure and attempted to blow up the largest hydroelectric dam in Ukraine. Several people were killed and dozens wounded, and a city the size of Birmingham was left without electricity. Let's also remember, on the 22nd of July, in Kremenchuk, Russians blew up a shopping mall in Ukraine in the middle of the day. 1,000 people were inside this shopping centre. 20 people died on the spot and dozens were horrifically injured. That was June the 22nd, 2022. Terrible act. Russia is a terrorist state.
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 As I said, Russians commit acts of terrorism every single day against the people of Ukraine, and they commit unspeakable war crimes against civilians. The Russians have committed mass murder, mass rape, blown up prisoners of war, launched missile attacks against apartment buildings full of people, waged biological warfare on Ukraine, kidnapped children and used ethnic minorities and non-European soldiers as cannon fodder. Ethnically cleansed whole towns, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's why we need to see justice in this war. That means Russians need to be prosecuted for their barbarism. Tribunals for Russian war criminals. Tribunals for Russian war criminals. Tribunals for Russian war criminals. When President Zelensky spoke yesterday, he said, I quote, "They came to Ukraine, burned down our cities, and then tried to blame Ukraine. They have brought hundreds of thousands of their terrorists to Ukrainian territory, and they are waging a war against us. But they don't care about what happens inside their own country. All of this happened yesterday, and instead of taking care of his Russian citizens and addressing them, this duffer, Putin, remained silent for most of the day, thinking about how to link this terrorist attack to Ukraine. Everything is in, so need to be aware of Russia's goals in Ukraine. And we need to be aware that Russia and Putin's goals